Hello everyone, and welcome to the Open Talks episode number 14. In this episode, we are going to talk about majorly four things. First is people are usually concerned about performance in the Steam Deck. Like people are told that it is running Proton, which they don't know, and they are thinking that because these games are made for Windows, and because these games are handled by Proton, it won't be performing good. So is it true? Like let's see, right? And you will be getting lots of knowledge about how these compatibility layers are working because we have Abhiram with us. So yeah. Second is how Apple is going to handle the photo scanning thing, which we talked about last time. Let's see, what's the deal. Third thing is Panasonic Toughbook. Panasonic is like literally going the other way. I mean, they after the last framework laptop, this is the second laptop which is appraisable from our end. So let's see what are the features and what they have created. Last thing is, last time we checked about the GPT-J model, right? So this time we have another model. That model was 6.5 billion parameters. GPT-3 is 175 billion parameters. Now this AI21's J1-Jumbo model is having 178 billion parameters. So it is even 3 billion more than GPT-3. So now we are getting someone who is competing GPT-3 in terms of parameters. So let's see what is the architecture, what are the layers they've used. And yeah, bro. So I guess let's roll the intro, right? All right. So the first topic is people are actually concerned about Proton. Like the thing is that it's not their fault. Uh, Proton is nothing but, I would say, a modified version of Wine, a distribution of Wine. So the thing is that Wine doesn't contain all the libraries or maybe all the DLLs and those things, or maybe all the drivers, like some weird names, like I forgot, but I don't do you remember those names? D something,
Uh,
DKD or something like.
there's a direct
Yeah,
text to Vulkan, right?
yeah,
DXVK,
D2, yes. So
DXVK, I
basically,
guess.
absolutely, absolutely. So as you all know, that Wine itself is not the emulator, right? So
Absolutely.
because Proton is based on Wine, it is not absolutely not an emulator. But in detail, Abhiram will explain like why Wine is not an emulator, and basically what is Wine and why Wine is not an emulator.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, when we talk about wine, right, we have to talk about the full form of wine, right?
yeah,
Which exactly is wine is not an emulator, right?
yeah. The full form itself. Abhiram, just for the audience who don't know what is Wine. Wine is basically a compatibility layer to run Windows programs in Linux. So you can basically pick an exe file, run it through the Wine, and it will literally function the way it used to be in Windows. So, and the full form, as Abraham said, Wine is not an emulator. The whole full form is same. Yeah, it's not an emulator. So, Abraham, yeah, now we can, I
So,
guess, proceed.
extending on what you have said, right? So,
Yeah,
uh, wine runs CXEs, right? Obviously. It's not really like the wine runs CXEs. Really, wine is like a translating layer which sits in middle and converts, you can say, Windows system calls to Linux system calls. So you can say that if you have a program, right, then you main part of the program is like two parts. You have your basic operations, add operation, multiply operation, like some kind of a, like the executable part, right, of your code, like the executable code that runs in user land, right? User land means non-privileged space where your code runs, right? Then there are some things which you need high privilege to do. Something like, let's say you need to create a file in your file system. I mean, creating a file is privileged task. Why? Because the thing is, a file needs to be created. That means there should be a way to confirm that the file creation is not, you can say, um, I mean, banned by the operating system, right? Like, you can say the operating system had to have a say, like, should you create the file or not, right? Like, the file is something like, file is a very critical object, right? You can say in uh, the operating system level. And if you want to create a file, then you have to have the permissions for, creation of the file. And to check that, the operating system has to intervene, right? If any program has the ability to create the files, yeah, like, any program can create any number of files. So what happens is, you just say, I want to create a file. So you just say, create, right? Create is, maybe a system call, like a create system call. You just call the system and say, I want to create a file. This file is a text file, that is, ASCII file, not a binary file. Just create a file in this particular path, and this is the file name for it. And what happens is, the system says, okay, it just goes again, checks all the, requirements, right? I mean, do you have access to that path, do you have right permission to the path, and those kind of things. And after that, what it returns is either an error or the file descriptor, right? FD file descriptor is like, you can say a number, right, describing the file, right, which is open in the memory. And basically, to the file descriptor, you can write or read, or whatever, depending on what you have asked for. So the thing is, the kernel is called, right, when you do the open system call. I mean, not the open, right? I mean, create system call. And when the kernel comes in, kernel has to do some stuff. So this like create is kind of like, you can say, it is implemented in different ways in Windows and Unix, right? Unix, I mean the Linux, right? Like, it is different, and the name is different. That is the whole thing, right? But the thing is, every operating system will have an equivalent strategy of same thing, right? I mean, like, you have to create a file in Windows, you will have a, different system call, but it is just a name difference, right? And the parameter difference, not like the whole thing is different, right? So only thing you have to do is, change the parameters such that it fits the Linux criteria, right, from the Windows criteria, and change the name of the function, the system call, to Linux system call, right? So this is exactly what Wine does. So whenever the Linux system, I mean, Windows system calls comes, yeah, but Wine does slow down the program, right? But in case of, the other executable program, like, that is a majority of what your code has, right? I mean, after opening the file, you will call write and those kind of things. But the thing is, you will, like, normally, like, talking about data science, you just read the whole data, right, chunk, and just work on it. After reading the whole chunk, the system call part is done, right? Now you keep on working on it, like, do some mathematical operation, do some, variable, like, things like that. Then after all that, only that you go back and say, okay, now I want to write the result to the back to the disk. So please give me a location to write to. And there are other system calls like malloc and those things, which can actually happen in middle, right? I mean, in middle of your program. But we are not going to talk about that. Let's say, like, all the memory is allocated and everything is hunky-dory, right? And it should be, right? You should allocate everything first before doing anything. So not going anything too much in detail, right? I think it's already detailed enough, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
uh, let's say, why what do you need to run Windows, right? I mean, Windows programs in Linux. So one main thing you need is a DLL, right? So in two ways you can, like, translate anything which is running in a Windows environment to Linux environment, right? The one way is to literally translate it to a Linux code, right? Other way is to have like a DLL, right? The DLL basically points to, let's say, if some game needs DirectX, and you have the DirectX DLL, right? Then what you have is, in the DLL there is like a function, right? DLL is basically like dynamic linked library, right? That is DLL. So
Oh,
it
okay.
is it is basically what you can say. Uh, if you want to write a program, it is a library. So you can just load the particular function from the library and call it. And that library is dynamically linked means it is not available unless the program is run. That is, program might call it, but program will not have any definition for it. It doesn't have anything in the memory, right?
I see.
It just
Yeah.
believes, the loader, loader is supposed to like, kind of, attach this binary to it, right? While running it. That is why it is dynamically linked, right? On runtime, this is attached. And
Okay.
the thing is that actually, the function, right? The function is actually written in, machine code, right? The function in the library. It might have system calls, but mainly it is machine code. And the thing is, if you can just resolve that library directly, right? That is one part of the job, right? You might only
Correct.
have to
Correct.
translate the direct Windows instructions, and for that also you can, in theory, load the Windows DLLs, right? Like, so you can go strip down until you just go to raw kernel calls, right? You get the idea, like, raw kernel calls in the sense like, the only the kernel, right? The something like a basic system call, like, open, or something like that, right? Is only um, translated. All the complex system calls which actually require some DLLs are kind of loaded from the DLL, right? So this is how wine works. So you can say wine is very accelerated, right? It might be also a fact that sometimes the programs might even run faster on Linux, because what happens is that the Linux scheduler and everything comes into picture, right? And what happens
I
is the
see.
program, like, how efficient it runs, it depends on how good it's scheduled. And like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
efficiency is really depending on like the scheduler, right? Because the scheduler is basically making the CPU idle for a long time, then yeah, like the scheduler is inefficient, then the program which has to be executed
Hmm.
is not getting executed, yeah, like, everything
Yeah.
falls apart, right? And
Yeah.
Linux is really good at scheduling and those kind of things. So what
I was
happens is that,
just one point, right?
yeah.
See, I have seen one test in which CS:GO, like the tester has basically ran CS:GO in Windows and Linux both, and Linux was having like 10 FPS more than Windows. So there is just one result for you
So
guys.
the thing is, like CS:GO is a little bit different, right? Little bit different case, because in CS:GO, parts of it are compiled for Windows and parts of it are compiled for Linux. So
I
the
see.
the thing
I
is,
see.
it is not completely running on a compatibility layer, right? Like, you know, parts of it is literally Linux, direct Linux code. Uh, but compared to some other games like GTA 5, which might need, Lutris to run it, Lutris or Proton, right?
Yes.
I mean, Proton can be used to run GTA
Yeah.
5.
Proton.
Um,
Yeah.
so in that case, it depends on. I mean, that is a completely Windows binary, right? Like, there is no Linux part in that. Like, the executable itself is a, you know Windows binary, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there is no
Absolutely.
DLLs. There is, like, in Linux, by the way, like, just additional information. Linux DLLs are called SOs, right? Shared objects, while in Windows is, dynamic link library, right? Anyway, so the whole thing is that Wine is not really an emulator. It just is a translator, and it just translates only the system calls on the fly, and the system calls only happen rarely. Like, it doesn't happen every time. It do happen a lot, but it's not like a, you can say, majority of the game code is a system call, right? Majority of the
Yeah.
game code is computing the frames and stuff like that, and it's not a system code. And those things getting translated might actually end up being, like, maybe faster, because the thing is, the translation do have a overhead. It do slow it down, but the scheduler and those kind of things might be scheduling it better. That is, it might not be switching between different cores, right? That much. So the process need not be copied and context switched too much, right? And those kind of things actually give a performance gain, and the translation gives a performance impact, both added together, we get a equivalent gain, right, which is higher or which may be lower, depending on
Yeah,
what actually is higher, right? So I guess that answers, hopefully.
yeah. That was like pretty good explanation for wine. And as you guys can see, like it's not an an emulator. Basically, it's a kind of a translator. So
Exactly.
yeah, so basically that doesn't hamper the performance, and it should actually improve. As Abhiram said, that the scheduler in Linux is way better than Windows, so it should actually improve the performance of
And it
the
also
games.
depends on the
Now,
kernel, right? Like, it might be that Windows might develop a better scheduler in the future, and
yeah, yeah,
Linux
absolutely,
develops another scheduler which might be better, right, after some time. But it's just
correct,
a
correct, correct,
game, right? Like, um,
absolutely,
sometimes Windows gets better,
absolutely,
sometimes Linux gets better. Like, I'm not
yeah.
claiming that Linux is
Hmm,
completely better, right? It's like
hmm, hmm, hmm.
sometimes it is better. And the thing is, one more thing is, like Linux schedulers are, you can trust it also, right? Like the mainline scheduler is not what's running mostly on your distro, right? If you're running Arch Linux or something like that, yeah, like it is most probably 99%, right? But if you're running Red Hat or CentOS or Ubuntu, most probably they have messed with the scheduler a little bit, tweaked it a little bit, so as to make it better for the
Okay,
system, right? Like they think their users use this system for this particular case. So how can we, modify the scheduler to kind of give the users a little bit more edge, right? They have a target demographic,
I see, I see.
like that Android has, right? Android has its own scheduler, like completely modified scheduler from Linux kernel.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
yeah, just saying, right? Android scheduler would be pretty much it if you kind of implement it in a you can say desktop environment, because I mean, both are pretty much different use cases. So
absolutely,
just saying, right?
absolutely.
It depends on.
Yeah,
I'm just generalizing the whole thing of scheduler, but
correct, correct, correct.
it depends on which scheduler it is.
Uh, only like Abhiram, my only concern is that uh, this Steam Deck is the while people are claiming that 100% of the Steam games will be compatible by end of this year. There is a time when they are launching Steam Deck. So only concern is that the games which are using anti-cheat things, right? Like I would say Fortnite or maybe PUBG PC. Those games are yet not compatible in Linux just because of this thing, that and this anti-cheat thing. So Valve is absolutely trying their best to develop that thing. But I mean, let's see. I mean, if they are able to not, because
For that, I
uh,
think what they might come up with as a hardware in the whole Stream Deck, right? I mean, like some hardware which negotiates that, okay, this is a Stream Deck. Okay, give me a code. I will execute it and prove to you that I am not really tampered with, or something like that, right?
okay, so that is not actually benefiting Linux community anyway, right?
Yes, yes. It won't work, right? I mean, absolutely, it will work only on Steam Deck. But people can
Yeah,
actually reverse engineer and make a kind of like a clone, or like an emulator of it. I mean, then it becomes a kind of like a game of who who makes the uh, countermeasure, then who makes the countermeasure of the countermeasure, like that, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's like
It's
it's
like
like
you know,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, like the thing is that these, they call it cheat engines, right? Anti cheat
yes.
engines. So basically, these anti cheat engines are at this point only allowing Windows, I mean, as an operating system. So
Yes,
that's,
yes, yes. I
I
mean,
would say,
saying
if
saying the engine, like the engine is a software running on kernel side, right? That is what's happening now. There is a driver, literally, right? Which is having
okay,
literally as much privilege as what a kernel has, right? That is what a driver has, right? Driver literally has
yeah,
access to the whole memory space, right? I mean, it literally has everything, right? It can literally trash the system if it wants to. But the thing is, there can be also a hardware, right? Anti-cheat hardware, let's say, which can also pretty much
Okay.
do the same thing, right?
Okay.
But the only thing is you can't just distribute anti-cheat hardware to every gamer, right? That is a problem. You get the idea, right? I mean, every
Yeah, that
Windows
is it.
user will be
Yes.
complaining, oh, why this game is not compatible? Like it's like TP 2.0, right? Uh, thing again, right? Like with games now. But the thing is, they can do with
Exactly.
Steam Tech because Steam Tech is what they are actually manufacturing, and
Yeah,
in
it's a
theory,
product.
it is
It's in their
controlled.
hands,
Yes.
right?
So in theory, they can do it, right? I hope they will at least make something for to make Fortnite work on Linux first, right? I mean Linux in the sense like Steam Tech. Then maybe slowly they will work
Hmm.
on something, right? So the whole thing is that like I mean the anti-cheat can be can be broken, right? It is just that the anti-cheat uh, really relies on so many heuristic, right? Like um, you can say like you don't have this like humans don't have this ability to push these many buttons at the same time, right? I mean
Yeah. Yeah.
and those kind of things it kind of learns like the patterns of humans, what mistakes humans make, and what mistakes robots don't make, and those kind of things. But at last, these are all hardware. These can be hacked. Right? Like any hardware
Yeah.
can be hacked. And the thing is, with machine learning, you can fight with machine learning, right? Like Alan Turing said, like in Alan
Yeah.
Turing, in any you can say for fighting against the Enigma machine, right? What he said is, why are you using mathematicians to break the Enigma machine? Like mathematicians will be slow because we are fighting with a
Yeah.
machine, right? Instead of using mathematicians, I mean code crackers to crack the code, use the code crackers to make a machine which can crack the code, right?
I see. Yeah.
And that is a brilliant idea, right? Because the thing is, by then there was no idea of a general purpose computer, right? I mean he literally made this possible, right? We are literally using computer because of him, right? Like the finite state automata, everything he actually kind of perfected to make the machine work, right? That is a general purpose Turing machine, right? I mean Turing machine is general
Right.
purpose kind of, right?
Right.
And that is what we all have now. And what I'm saying is similar to that, like every machine is a machine, right? So we can fight with machine like that. Every AI is an AI. We can fight with AI, right? We can make an AI learn how the other AI reacts to the thing and literally fight against it, right? I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
that it's like a you can say um, in a war there is like one place wins, then the other enemy finds the weaknesses. Enemy starts to do some things, and enemy's weaknesses they kind of find out, right? Enemy of enemy's weakness, right? I mean, like just goes right, and there is countermeasures. Then one person does countermeasures, then they make a smarter move that is smarter countermeasure for the countermeasure, right? And there will be like the other team
Yeah.
will be like smarter countermeasure for the countermeasure which they did with smartness, right? So it is like that, right? That is what security is, and I do think like cheat is really hard to prevent. And I mean, like the thing is, now the cheats are really high priced. That is the whole thing. Now people with a large amount of money they can buy cheats, right? But with normal
Correct.
people are not really getting access to cheats. So that means that still there are cheaters, but not cheaters in a large scale because of how hard it is to break. People are demanding money for
Yeah.
the cheats a lot, right?
Yeah. Now the the people who used to create cheats for free, they are now creating cheats for
Paid
some
users.
price. So yeah, it's not easily accessible. That is correct.
That's true.
Absolutely
And
correct.
the thing is, there is no cheats is absolutely a false thing, right? Like I'm pretty sure every game has a cheat, right? If they have a large enough user guide, like user space,
Yes, absolutely. True.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe just make a different version of Valorant for Linux with totally different servers. Maybe,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
right?
Abhiram, that actually hampers the Linux community. The thing is that with these games, Valorant, then PUBG, and BGMI, those games, what happens is you are actually gaming for two purposes. One is playing with your friends. They might be having Windows. Second thing is you are playing for a tournament, right? So in those tournaments, generally the opponents will have Windows because 95 more than 95% of the OS is being used is basically Windows. So I mean that is not a practical move going for different Linux servers.
Uh, I mean, when you ask me, right, there like even having different chips is not a practical move. Like everything gives
Yeah.
people a tactical advantage, right? I mean, some poor guy will be having 60 FPS monitor and will be like using maybe like a very low end GPU to game, while another person, right, with a very huge amount of money will be like rocking like 3090 or RTX, whichever it is highest, right? uh, I forgot, right? Yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Like it's like you can say, uh, like even in Windows it is not a plain playing field. It's just whoever has the money has the best equipments. And I
Yes,
mean,
absolutely.
equipment doesn't make a perfect gamer, right? I mean, to have a good game, like you should actually have a good gaming talent to even use those equipments to your advantage, right? But the thing is, even if you have talent, if you don't have equipments, that actually do hinder you a lot, right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, just saying that Linux versus Windows is a very minor change when compared to having a, maybe like a, uh, it's Pentium from 2010 versus Ryzen from, 2021 or something, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You get the idea, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the first thing we have to fix. Like if both Windows and Linux are both running on i7, like current gen i7 or Ryzen 7 or something like that, right? So in theory, both should be running with pretty similar performance with plus or minus 10 FPS, right? You get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other FPS drop is like the one person will be having like 400 FPS, the other person will be like barely getting 60, right?
Correct.
And that is pretty, you can say, crucial. I mean, the thing is, the whole gaming thing is, I don't know, it's weird, right? It's really weird. It's really
Yes.
weird in the
Yes.
sense, like normally in sports, right, you have the cricket game, right? Everyone is in the playing field because everyone gets the same bat, like same tested balls, everything, right? I mean, hockey, everything, like even rackets are tested. It needs to have a minimum requirement, right, and a maximum requirement. Like if you go beyond that, your rackets are not allowed to get into, right? And like that, like the games, like the physical games have a literal, you can say, a literal bare minima and bare maxima, and it's like really close, right? It's a tight space. So I don't know, like computer gaming feels like it's not just a competition of, you can say, the talent. It's a competition of also the money, right? The gear involved. So yeah, like
That is true.
I don't
That is
think
true.
Windows and Linux, like that difference is pretty minuscule, and just that Linux users are less is the only fact that like they are not caring about Linux users, right? But if they
Yeah.
really think Linux anti-cheat is really hard, just make a new server for that, and just do it. Or otherwise, they can have a literally a high amount of stakes for the gamer, right? Like high amount of stakes
Yeah.
in the sense like they can have they can have paid accounts, right? And with paid accounts, they can have something like if they detect a cheat, they like you literally lose a lot of things. So there is a little
Right.
stake. So for the gamer to
Yeah.
not to be illegitimate, right? I mean, not be illegitimate. Right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Uh, I
Correct.
mean, yeah, this is all like I don't know, like it's just tries to prevent, right? Even rich guys can literally lose a lot of money and be fine, right? So it
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
depends on who you are at that
Right.
point.
right?
I mean that is the thing about life, right? It's not a playing field like for anyone, right? Like even if you want to be like uh,
Correct,
like
correct,
someone is
correct.
going to get an edge on you, and someone is not going to get an edge on you. Like it's just that
Absolutely.
it's all about luck, right? Like where you're born and what do you have and those kind of things. Like it's really a miracle, right? If you are really born in a wealthy family, like you are really grateful, right? Kind of like. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah, I mean that's it, I guess. This first topic.
absolutely. Okay. So moving to the second topic. Okay, so last time we talked about like Apple is going to scan photos, right? Personal photos. The thing is that we didn't talk about how they are going to scan. So first is like within this week we learned that there is a huge concern between people that how they're going to scale. Like the thing is that to validate a thing, you have to have a standard, right? So so the thing is that the standard is actually in a gray area. Like we are talking about child abuse, right? So how Apple is going to have that standard, that data, right? That data is like very grayish data. How will Apple have that data? The thing is that
I mean, not
in
even gray,
United
like it's
States,
like black at this point.
yeah, 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 absolutely. It's literally the black data, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah, how Apple is going to have hands on that data? The thing is that Apple cannot have hands on that data. The thing is that no one in the United States can have hands on that data. Only one authority, one government
I don't
authority. I
think
forgot the
anyone in
name.
the earth at this point. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think
I
any
mean the
country
thing is that
allows that, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The thing is
but
that
there might be, right? Just saying.
yeah, I
I
mean
don't know, right?
we
We
never
can't be
know.
100% sure,
In
right?
I mean, North Korea, right? We don't know what is going inside. So
Until now,
who,
I
who
don't think
knows?
any country exists, right? Till now.
Yeah,
Maybe you can find out one country and let me know
correct,
if
correct.
there is.
Yeah. So basically, the thing is that there is always one authority in every country, at least in United States as of now, which has these data in raw form. They can access the data, but other people can access the data through hashes. So they are calling it hashes. As of now, I don't know what those hashes are. If they are literally MD5 hashes, they can be manipulated in multiple ways. So the thing is that what Apple is going to do is Apple will create the hashes of these images in your iCloud, and then it will compare those hashes with the hashes which are provided by that authority, that government authority. And if more than some threshold is matching, it will like report those photos. Then then for the funny fact comes, right? Those photos which are matching, now suddenly they are decrypted. At this point they were encrypted. Suddenly they are decrypted. So you all know like iCloud has been hacked literally many times in past. So we all knew that it is not encrypted. If it was encrypted, even if it got hacked, uh,
You can
you would
say you
have.
can say it is not a zero access encryption, right? Like something like it is encrypted, but it's not zero access, right? That is, Apple has
I see.
access, but it is encrypted. Like
I
Apple
see.
has the
I
keys
see.
to it. Kind of like.
Yeah. So if like it's like a bank locker, right? So but both the keys are with bank and
Yeah, yeah.
with you also. So Apple, if wants, like they can decrypt that, that flat
I mean, you
photo.
can say like both the keys are with the bank, and you don't have any key, right? You just have a key to prove that you're you, right? And they just
Yeah,
use their
yeah,
key to like just open it, right?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, right. That's a funny analogy, by the way. So correct. So basically, if your photo is flat, Apple will the literally Apple employees will kind of check those photos, or maybe some government authorities will check that photo, not the hash, the literal photo. And if it is problematic, then you will be like arrested and those things. So The thing is that there are two concerns. One, if that hash is a simple hash, then it can be manipulated in many ways. Second thing, if that photo, that particular photo, is not in the database of that government authority, so then what's the point? Like generally, if your phone has child abuse photos, you are the accuser. I mean, yeah, you are the one who is uh, who is blamable, right? Because you have the new content, right? At that point, if you are having some old content, you are not the child abuse. You are just having that. The whole point of this thing is to catch to catch those people who are doing child abuse. But at this point, the system seems like it is only detecting those who are having the data from other third parties. So it's like the whole point of the system. I don't think so. Like it is justified. It seems like some kind of a backdoor for some other purposes. And second point, uh, yeah. So you all knew iMessage is encrypted, right? Was encrypted till this point. But now,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you are a parent,
encrypted, but zero access. We thought it is zero access.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah. So at this point, iMessage is not at all secure. The thing is that if you are a parent and if you set up some things in your child's iPhone, so that will scan for not safe for work images and videos and those things. If your child is dealing with those images and videos, it will be flagged. So the thing is that now iMessage is also scanning for media contents before sending or maybe after sending, who knows, but it is scanning. So Apple is, I mean, the thing is that I'm talking to Apple now. Who is controlling you? You are not the same thing just 5 years or 10 years back. You are turned into something else. I mean, there is someone who is literally controlling these things. Some government authority or someone else. But yeah, we didn't expect this from it. Yeah, but I guess you can put your
So,
point.
I mean, I actually don't know the statistics about child abuse or anything, right? At this particular point. But I think this should be a response by Apple because of there was an increase or something, right? I mean, most probably, right? I mean, otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? To, to have this
Yes,
feature added at this particular point of time because everyone is having this pandemic, situation, and everyone is everywhere, right? I mean, some people are like literally stranded in some countries and something like that, and maybe like these crimes are increasing now, right? I mean,
it
I
could
don't
be.
know,
Yeah,
right? I don't know, right? Just saying a statistical probability that this is why. But I mean, the thing is, like this is what we were talking about, right? Like, people having the power and not using it doesn't mean that they won't use it in future, right? Like this is why I basically say like if Google has whole power of your phone, don't let it be like that. You know, today Google might not be evil, right? Tomorrow we don't know, right? When they turn,
absolutely.
there is no way to prevent them, right? This is what actually happened to Apple now, right? Like there is, I mean, it is
Yeah.
not evil, like you can say it is like it is like you can say not respecting the user's privacy, right? uh, in the sense
Yes.
like users has to do users on business and not really care about who is watching what is it is, right? I mean, like now I don't know, right? I actually can think about a lot of things which can go on in the Apple, like even Microsoft if they use iPhones, right? I mean, Microsoft employees if they use iPhones, they can spy on their messages and get an idea of what they're doing and things like that. Like, they can get flagged images which are pretty much sensitive, maybe like a company IP property or something which is, really intimate or something, right? I mean, you understand what I'm saying. uh, and these things, when it's leaked to the internet, or even like being seen by Apple, is not even authorized. So that is not a, like, it's not authorized access, right? It's not authorized access. It's not like we are saying, okay, we have something in your iPhone which we believe to be, uh, something which might be of particular thing, right? So please do surrender the information to us, right? Or to the government saying like something like that, right? It's like Apple basically saying, okay, yeah, okay, you have the data, yeah, let's have it. You not even like asking us, right? Something like that.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
and I know, like, this feels very brutal and all the things. It is very positive also, but the thing is, the negative part is that if Apple does this, what can other companies do, right? I mean, it might be just that Apple is the beginning of a whole
Exactly. Yeah.
new era of having no privacy at all, right? Like, you know and like, this is not the first time people start doing it, right? I mean, already Google is doing it. It's just that Google didn't made in news or anything. They just do it,
Exactly. Exactly. That's the point.
right?
Google is already
And
scanning these
already
things.
scanning this. And I mean, like, the thing is, uh, like, personally, I do think if you want security, you should probably do it, not like rely on some other person, right? The thing why, like, the decentralized stuff like Tor and these kind of things really became popular is because you can't trust anyone, right?
Yes.
Mainly these corporates. So what these Tor and these all projects offer is that they offer an ability to not trust, but on mathematical proofs, on trust of, like, trust on the proof rather than trust on person, right? So really, like, those kind of things has to evolve, and maybe like a distributed file storage should evolve, something like that, where it is nearly impossible to track anyone, right? I mean, but the thing is, this is also positive, but like, it's like, I don't know, right? I mean, there's absolutely a positive and negative, but the thing is here, the positives and negatives extremes, right? Positives are like, child abuse, right? It will be lower. Negatives are like, people's intimate photos or something which is having a very sensitive information, like, something unreleased product, or some really big transaction, which is really big strategy of a company, is going to be exposed to some other company, which might be even a competitor. So let's say, like, Google's $1 billion strategy being flagged as something, and getting exposed to Apple, right? Apple is literally going to scan through their data, right? I mean, and something like, and I don't know if they are even going to do this for corporates, right? Like, if they are not going to scan the corporates, yeah, like, okay, they are not going to do that. But still, the thing is, if something like this happens, then it's a really really big loss for uh, these people, right? But I that is why I say, like, if you own a company, if you want to do something, and if you want to 100% safeguard it, make your own servers, make your own systems, make your own encryption schemes, and maybe use only open source, right? Don't use anything which is like closed or anything. um and my audio is perfect, but my video is kind of like lagging a bit.
I think it
Okay,
is fine. It is
okay,
fine.
it is fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So the thing is, I don't know. Like, it is a very sensitive topic, right? Um, I can't say much of it because like, there are so much attack vectors to this whole
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the whole idea of the iCloud is to have a locked storage for anything you
Absolutely.
put
Yeah.
in it, and Even if you pirate some movies and put in it, unless you share, it should not be a problem normally, right? I mean, it should not be in the sense like,
Mm-hmm.
you just own the copy, right? And I mean, you don't own it, you pirated it, you have a legitimate copy, but you are not sharing it. That means that you are not the originator of more,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Um,
This is what happens with the drive, right? I mean, if you upload a pirated movie, it won't delete it. But if you share it with someone, and then they share it with someone, and that copy is kind of a source to you know
yes,
lots of
yes,
people, then it
more
will
people.
be deleted.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even Google says in their privacy policy, right? I mean, they don't really scan for any files which are really not shared. But the thing is, see, like, they don't really scan for, but they do, right? They do. It's just that they are not looking
Yeah.
for pirated material then, right? Like the scanning
Right.
parameters is different. Uh,
Right. Right. Right.
and at last, I think, what really should be done is, like, I think, first of all, the parents should be close to the children, right? And, like, they should be
Yeah.
really,
Exactly.
really, like, discussing about everything
Yes.
and kind of having an open discussion with the children. I think that is lacking a lot these days. And parents are not really understanding their children, and children are not really understanding their parents. They are like, the parents for the children is basically their teachers, right? At this point, like,
Yes.
they are just going to school, they are just seeing them, and whenever they come home, the parents are literally exhausted. They just do something and just sleep, right? I mean, it was not for me, right, those days, but I think in the future, that is a phase I am seeing, right? Like, people are just working, they don't have their time for the kids, and like,
Yeah.
uh,
Slowly, slowly, it's happening. It's
so
becoming
the
like that.
abuse is something like, it can be controlled. If abuse can be detected and, you know kind of, you can say, uh, dealt with immediately, so that the abuser can be, put to justice immediately, right? So in theory, if it happens to a child and not getting reported, that is the main problem, right? At this point. And main reason is to, I think, is to, blame parents, right? And also, I don't think parents should be like too tough on children, because that will make children hide a lot of stuff from their parents, really. Like,
Yes. Yes.
they will literally have like, five or six thoughts before saying anything to their parents, and I don't think that is a good idea to do so. And too
That
much
is the
logs
worst
and
idea.
too much stuff, right? I mean, too much logs and stuff basically makes, like, think about it. Like, if I say, like, okay, don't open this thing, you know most probably you are going to try to open it, right? So I mean, that is what the logs does, right? It is going to tempt you.
True.
What is like, after that, right? Why there is a lock there? There is something that is, blocking me, something which should not be, used by me, like, why, right? What, right? Instead of saying, okay, see, these are the things you don't want to access, you should not go into, and if you go into that, is, a bad thing, and just giving them unlock, right? And saying, like, educating them, right? This is the thing, and just monitoring them passively, right? Not really actively, right? I mean, in the sense, like, if they go and watch something, then slowly they can, like, come, like, take this to the children, right? Like, you know just not attack, right, directly. That is what I'm saying, right? That
Yeah.
attack will
Yeah.
literally, like, destroy the children, right? That literally destroys their mind, and they literally don't know, right? I mean, like, it's just that they are, like, too pure, right, to understand any kind of things, really. And I think it should be that the parents should spend a lot of time with the children, and that way this can be prevented at first, right? And they should have a literal eye on them, right? Always. It's like, don't have literal, like, eye on them 100% time, right? It's like whenever necessary, right? When they're going out, who they are meeting with, what bus, what private, like, vehicle they are traveling in, who are they mingling with, in their room, they should be given the perfect privacy, right? To to have their own, personal space, their own attitude. You have to give them the space, right? Uh, and I mean, it depends on the parenthood and stuff like that. But the thing is, like with digital world, you can actually track anyone everywhere, like in anywhere actually. And
Yeah, absolutely.
uh, I don't know. I think this is an abuse of the whole system. But the thing is that it is helping someone, but I'm not able to come to any conclusions, right? I mean,
Abhiram, like at this point, the thing is that see, taking this step will actually help a lot of children, right? That's always a positive point. But the thing is that we know these companies, uh, if they are given a chance, they will take the chance and they will invade the privacy for sure. That is, I mean, 110% for sure. We have seen in the past, like with those Chinese people, what they have done, right? So this is the, I mean, this power is good. I would say it's not bad, but in which hands it is given, you have to see that. You know. So at this point, the phones are, I would say, less of an entertainment device, but more of a surveillance device. They are becoming like that. Slowly, slowly. The proportion is going the other way. So,
I think parents should really focus children, their children on really
yeah,
what is the advantages of these things. They maybe give a motivation, right? Be the motivation. Why, what kid can do good with the technology, right? Be the motivation and show them the right path. Not literally. I think negative reinforcement do work, but it does also have a very negative effect. Like there's a side effect of having negative
I mean,
attitude towards a parent at large.
it's like there are permanent changes in their brains, which will last uh, for the whole life. So,
Absolutely.
in psychology, they call it permanent biochemical changes. I forgot the whole term, but
And when they hit teenage,
these,
they are going to shut off their parents 100%. You know,
yeah,
they are not going to discuss
yeah,
anything with them.
correct. So, I mean, we are no expertise in psychology, but we do understand, how we should treat our children. So, yeah, if some parents are watching, and if you are taking some advice, please do take, right?
Please do be try to be friendly with your children, right? And try to be
Yeah,
a
please
friend rather than
be
like a
open.
bossy figure, right?
Absolutely.
Man,
So,
be accepting and things like that, right? No, don't be shouting at them, right?
yeah, yeah,
The shouting
correct.
is what literally makes them close up, and they will be
Hmm.
thinking, okay, like if I say this, she or he is going to shout at me, so let it sink down, right?
Yeah,
And it is going to recur. Like, I mean, if it's an abuse, then it's going to recur again and again and again. And when it is gone past the uh, you can say gone past the limit, right? That is when you're going to know because you shut them off, right? Like you
yes.
get the idea. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just talk, right? Talking solves everything,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so I guess with that, we can move to the third topic. That
Absolutely.
is Panasonic, right?
Oh
Panasonic
yeah.
is coming from nowhere, like coming from nowhere and creating a laptop, and
I mean, this
not a
is
normal
the
laptop.
next one, right? I mean, this is the next one. Right? The tough book they have released in the past. This is a new one.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
right.
mean, they are not really heard in the industry at all.
Yeah,
Their names,
yeah,
right? With PCs and
right.
stuff like that. Like I can guess Panasonic speakers, Panasonic light bulbs, right? Not Panasonic, you know, computers.
Yes, even the in-ear headphones, they are pretty good.
Absolutely.
I have a Panasonic phone, right? I have a smartphone,
Oh,
which is like this much huge, right? Somewhere around 6.7 inches. Back
right, right, right.
in it is like 6 years old. It's not working for sure, but at before 6 years, Panasonic was even in smartphone business. So yeah,
Like LG was.
yeah, like LG was.
So I mean, like, so the main thing about this tough book is that it is very rugged, and it is actually
Yeah, the name
IP6.
tough, right? It's
Yes,
literally proven. It
I think
justifies.
it is IP65 water resistant, right?
Oh man, that is
So
new.
yeah, that is absolutely. I mean, that is amazing. And that means, I mean, this doesn't really apply to any people who are normal, right? I mean, I mean, normal in the sense
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not
yeah,
psychologically or anything, like talking about normal jobs and
yeah,
non-normal jobs, right? So non-normal
yeah.
jobs will be something like working at a facility, like a nuclear facility or something like that, where things can go boom and stuff like that, and working in middle of
Correct.
war, right? Something like that, and working at a place where there is too much, you can say, water condensation and stuff like that, like some like a that job I forgot, like geographer, I forgot, right? Who actually like assesses the soil quality and stuff like that, goes to the land and like
Oh,
checks,
okay,
you know
okay.
that
No, no.
job. Yeah, like those people have to literally go in the rain and do stuff, right? So if they want to use their computers, right, they have to literally, like maybe like put a shed up and stuff like that. Now they can literally, like take this thing and type on it, uh, believing that this thing won't be damaged if rain comes, and even in rain they can keep on typing, right? It's fine,
Yes, yes.
right? So I think for them this will be gold, right? This piece of equipment. And the one last thing is that this is very modular, right? To a point where you can even replace the battery, right? I mean, when have you heard
Oh,
replaceable battery, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
we have heard in the other thing,
absolutely.
right? The What is the other
Yeah.
laptop? Um,
Framework.
Framework. Yeah, we have heard in the framework, right?
Yes.
Like you know, but like when you open the phone, it says this battery is not removable, right? It's like literally printed in the sticker, right? Uh,
Yep, yep, yep.
but in case of framework, it is said this battery is removable and the wattage, right?
Oh man,
That was literally a, like knife in the chest, right? Kind of move.
it's like I don't. Do you know nowadays if you see specs of a phone, if that phone has an headphone jack, they will put that in under features. Like this
Absolutely.
phone has an headphone jack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
You
that
know,
is absolutely a feature now, right?
yeah. Nowadays it's a feature. Yeah.
Yeah, like we should
So
actually transport someone from 2001 to like 2021 and show the phone. See, like this headphone jack is a feature, and they'll be like literally you're laughing at this whole thing. Okay, so
what have we done?
and show them the airports, right? And show them the normal
Yeah.
ones, right? The normal earphones from Apple, and they'll be like, okay, did Steve Jobs just cut the wires, right?
Oh man.
I
Yep.
mean, that is that the best thing they can come up with. I mean, like I think we have seen a lot of wireless headphone designs, and a lot of them really have the band, and some of them have in-ear thing, right? Like you get the in-ear, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And those things are pretty better in design than AirPods. And AirPods only exist just because that Apple made it. Like if some other company
Yeah.
made it,
Exactly.
I think they'll be literally a laughing stock.
It would have
They,
failed for sure, just because of this ecosystem that Apple has created. I mean, like,
and Apple has a trust, right? Whatever they do is the thing. Like there
yeah,
is no
absolutely.
other way, right? This is the
The thing
thing.
is
Like
that Apple is very smart, right? See, what happens is, um, iPhone is not just a product. it's an entry gate to the whole Apple universe.
I
So
mean, any
uh,
devices, any Apple device is
exactly,
intricate.
any Apple device is like a trap. Like even if
It's like
it's
a
from
plant
your
trap.
work. Absolutely, absolutely. So the thing is that in economics, it's called as retainers. So after you purchase your iPhone, you will like subscribe for your Apple Music, iCloud Plus, those things. Those are retainers. So now when your iPhone 11 or something, which it is not usable at this point, you want to switch your phone, but now you are used to iMessages, you are used to Final Cut Pro, maybe if you're using Mac, you're used to your AirPods, you're used to iCloud Plus. So at this point, a normal user will not consider alternatives. He will just consider that I want iPhone 30 or iPhone 12. So Apple has created a vicious loop that you cannot come out if you just once get into it. I mean, for that, you have to be a non-techie person. If you are a techie person, you will never go inside that. But yeah, just in case. So it's the whole concept of retainers and integrate and those things.
Yeah,
So
like if
Apple
you're a
is
techie person, what you'll see is that you'll see, okay, um, I'm going to buy a MacBook. Okay, so okay, for the speakers, oh, Apple, like Apple has their own, like what is it, HomePod, yeah,
airport, right?
HomePod,
Yeah,
HomePod, right?
yeah,
HomePod.
yeah, yeah.
So Apple has HomePod. Okay. Okay. Then there is Apple AirPods for earphones. Then there is like does Apple have an Apple printer? Maybe they should think about it, right? Anyway,
Yeah, it's a good product to be launched, opportunity to be had.
yeah, maybe 3D printer also, right? Apple 3D printer. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
3D printer could make a huge difference. Yes.
yeah, like maybe printer also prints paper, right? So that you can take the 3D printer. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so
First, the 3D printer prints a paper, and then the 2D printer prints on it.
yeah, absolutely. So something like these ecosystems they will be seeing and oh yeah shit, I'm not going to sign up for this. I have to buy this device for this thing that thing. Like normal user says, okay, what do I need now? I need a MacBook. Buy it. And after that they start using and they'll be like, okay, why the speaker sound shit? I need bigger speakers. Okay, let me go and buy Google Home, and they'll be like, okay, this is about MacBook. No shit. What does MacBook have? Apple HomePods. Buy it, right? So that is how they lock it in, right? Like the
Yes,
people
yes,
who don't care
right.
about the future, right? They don't really think about the future. Like, okay, what is the product implicate? Like, what are the implications we are basically having, right? By buying this product. Um, okay, so what was the original topic we started with? We just drifted for a little bit.
Oh man, original topic was Panasonic Toughbook.
Which one?
Uh, Panasonic Toughbook, right?
Oh, tough book, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, like what you're saying is that the Panasonic tough book is really durable and in theory it can just last for like even until you die basically.
yeah,
Because the thing is,
correct.
it is like literally modular to a point where you can keep on replacing the parts, right? Only things which are non-replaceable is I
Hmm.
think the screen. I mean,
Right.
screen is pretty durable in the sense like you have to
Yeah.
literally have a huge hit with sledgehammer to break it. Uh, and second thing, I mean, it even supports stylus, right? By the way,
Right.
so
Right.
you can
Right.
even
Right.
write on it, right?
That is amazing.
And there is like removable batteries. So batteries are you know pretty much perfect. The removable SSDs, you know, very
Oh,
much
wow.
required feature. And removable you can say RAM sticks,
Perfect.
and you
Perfect.
can put whatever you want as an add-in card. For the add-in card, actually, there are pretty much so many options. One of the two of their options are one is a serial port. So serial port, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Arduino's use serial port to program and stuff like that, right? So
Yes. Yes.
you can use it to program, obviously, right? I mean, the serial ports.
That
But
is
serial
pretty
ports
hard.
also have pretty other uses also, right? Like to control equipments, things like that.
I
Like,
see.
a lot of things are there. Then there are you can actually buy a IR camera module.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can literally have an IR camera. So like think about you, right? You are having electrical engineering degree, right? So I mean for you, how would it even benefit, right? Like I think I know a
Oh,
way. Like that is
yeah. I mean,
if you have some water
uh,
leaks,
yeah. Yeah.
you can know, right? I mean like if the wall is having some like energy, that is wall is
Hmm.
light, then you can
Correct.
literally point this and say, okay, here's a problem. This wall is wet. This is
Yes.
see this should not be blue. This portion
Yeah.
is blue, right? The wall is blue. Wall should not be blue, right? In the thermal imaging. Then there's another way, right?
Absolutely.
So something is overheating, like some equipment. I mean,
Exactly.
you can't just go ahead and check the equipment temperature, right? I mean, go down and check the equipment temperature. Sometimes, like you can, right? Some cases you can't. You can just take this thing and just check it, right? Okay, is it overheating or not, right? From a far away position, maybe like a turbine or something, right? You can just do a thermal imaging of the turbine. What is it happening, right? And for
Correct.
crime investigators, I think best use will be like to know where the fight was and stuff like that. They can like see what was the heat map of the floor and wall and stuff like that. So they will get an idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. What is near to 37? And they will get a rough idea of how much uh, time the victim or the attacker was there. Touching the desk or something like that. Like you get the idea, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. And there can be also another implication, right? I mean, that this IR, right? It can be also seen through walls and stuff like that, right? Like if walls are
Oh,
really
yeah.
thin,
Right.
so it can also be used to detect if there are other like people out like on the opposite side of the wall in a military situation, right?
I
Where you
see.
want
I
to
see.
see the enemies, right? But it is a long shot, right? More X-ray imaging will be better, right?
Correct.
X-ray goggles, right? Where you just beam an X-ray and see the reflections.
Yeah.
That is much better because like it can penetrate walls with very ease, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
IR can be just
Infrared,
blocked by
it's like,
having a glass.
right. Right.
Uh,
For infrared, it's like the scenario has to be very ideal. First is
yes,
your
yes,
wall has to be very thin, and the infrared wave it has to be in some perfect spectrum of infrared. Infrared,
yes,
it's
yes,
it's like not just one wavelength; it's a whole set of wavelength. So in that,
absolutely.
a particular wavelength should be there to penetrate that wall.
So when we talk electromagnetic spectrum, infrared means infrared that is near to red and below to red. You know that is infrared. There is near
Correct.
infrared. There is far infrared. There is two classes of infrareds. And
Yeah,
what we are actually talking, right, when thermal imaging is basically near infrared, right, not far infrared. Far infrareds are
I see.
what is really going to be happening if you want to have some kind of a security camera, right? For example, like security cameras do far infrared, right? Because
Okay.
the thing is, you don't want to see heat really. Or is inverse? Sorry.
Yeah.
Like far infrared is thermal imaging, right? Near infrared is the like the security camera. So like, it's inverted,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what happens is yeah. So like in order to prove this point, right? So first of all, you can heat something, right? First of all, it will start glowing red, then it will glow orange. Then if you can heat more, right? Keep on heating it more, it will go from orange to blue at some point, then to violet, right? That is how it goes. Then from violet it will go ultraviolet, right? What is
Yeah.
happening is that the uh, the atoms are vibrating, and the vibration literally gets higher and higher as you heat it up. And the more the vibration happens, the more the color changes. That is because the wavelength of light produced by that atom becomes higher. I mean, not wavelength, the frequency, sorry. Frequency gets higher and the wavelength gets smaller, right? Because the energy increases of the atom, right? The
Yeah,
energy increases. So, yeah, this is a small experiment you can do. And yeah, so far infrared is thermal, right? We are all glowing, right? In the room, like we are literally glowing. We are emitting here. Sun is like sun. If you could see, near infrared and far infrared, it will be glowing too, like much more than what you see normally.
absolutely.
And one of the main things is normally visible light don't hurt your eyes, right? The retina, like when you are looking at the sun, it is mainly the infrared which is getting concentrated in your retina, which is going to,
Yeah,
basically like kill it, right? Kind of like. Um, So the whole thing is we started with actually the infrared module, right? So infrared module is really amazing, right? It has literally a lot of use. Even for a person who is like having some injury, right? You can see if that person is having a very huge injury or not just by imaging them, right? If they're having some
I
internal
see.
bleedings, then what will happen is their body temperature is going to be rapidly increasing in that particular region. And if they're going to have a broken bone or something, then that particular region will be like hot, very hot, right? Compared to all other places, because the blood is going to rush in and try to deliver as much platelets and as much blood cells as it can to
Correct.
help it heal, right? That place. And this will literally give us an idea like, okay, this person, you can't get an x-ray now, right now. So yeah, just scan with infrared. Okay, what is going on? Okay, uh, this is this much hot. So you can say, okay, because this is this much hot, let's say this person is having this degree of injury. So let's not move that particular body part that much, right? When carrying it over to hospital, right? Like if it is a broken bone, you don't want
Yeah,
to really move it too much, because otherwise the bone will get misaligned and kind of like the doctors has to pull it apart and kind of stitch it together. Then you put a rod on top of it, right, to hold it inside. And sometimes it happens, otherwise they just do a plaster, right? If it is a total crack, they have to literally put a I forgot what is the term they use, but they have to put a metal thing inside the they have to cut and put it, right, so that it will literally like move, right? The bone has to literally, like, they will literally drill through
yeah,
the bone, right? That is what they do. The thing about it is really painful, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, maybe not go through that painful procedure, right? If you have a thermal imaging. And I think there was one more module which can be inserted, right? Yeah, like smart card reader, right? So I mean, this is really useful for people who are really like working in security agencies or something like that, where you have something
I
like
see.
you have a laptop, but laptop you don't want to enter the password, because password can be seen by cameras, right? See, like if you enter a password and
Absolutely.
like see, like this is one of the thing I'm really 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 uh, trusting every time, right? Passwords are really secure, but the problem is where you enter the password really matters, right? And if you are entering password in a bank, I'm pretty sure the bank is going to have a recording of it, and that will basically give anyone access to the password, right? Anyone in the sense like anyone who is authorized to go into the bank records. But these people who are really cautious about security, right? There is people who are working in the security firm are normally cautious about security, right? First of all, uh, so those people are going to have some kind of a smart card reader, and that smart card
Okay.
reader will let them in. Something like you can say security token, right? So password, smart card, boom, they're locked in. So someone steals the password, no biggie. They have to steal the smart card too, right? Like, and they can clone the smart card, because smart card is a computer of its own, and it's like too hard to hack, right?
Yeah,
So I think, I mean, like this is a niche equipment, right? This is a niche equipment. I actually saw the video from Linus Tech Tips, and in that video he told actually there is absolutely no price where price tag on the thing yet. So I mean I know for a fact that this thing is not going to be affordable, right?
I
Like
see. I see. Yeah.
I mean it's
Because it
not
is
for
like
normal people.
the thing is that the demand for this thing will not be that much high. The thing
Yes,
because of that, the price will be very much high because the thing is that this is not some kind of a mass manufacturing equipment, right? So
absolutely.
because it is not mass manufacturing, they cannot cut down the cost. That is why. But the thing is that the people who require this thing are pretty much in place to afford. So yeah,
They
it
are
will
really high
yes,
paid and all those things, and most probably the
correct.
companies who are really hiring them will literally buy for them.
Yeah. So
I mean,
that
scientists are the ones who are going to use it at last, right? This thing
absolutely,
has a really good
absolutely.
performance. It can even have i7s in it. So I mean
Okay, great.
i7U series, right? So it's not a a huge performance piece, but that's the laptop CPU inside a tablet, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct.
So yeah, I mean that is fine, right? That is fine. And the Linus showed actually had 32 gigs of RAM and had an
Oh,
iPad.
okay, okay.
I
I see.
mean 32 gigs is pretty good, right? I mean I think these days we want 32 gigs just to be like sure.
Yeah,
There's nothing we can run out of RAM. So
correct.
yeah, the display terrible. I think like if you want, just go to Linus Tech Tips and see his video of the whole explanation.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
but I do think I mean these things should actually lead to more products with more modular design, right? Uh, in that
Yeah,
video, Linus did say like
right.
something like this, right? Uh, like this can fall a 6 feet and be having no damage, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there is
Right.
actually LG gram which can also withstand 6 feet drop, right? Generic everything actually is tested it with you
Oh,
know
man.
like step drop, right? Dropping across step
Yeah, yeah.
and it's survive, right? Like you can go two extremes. You can have high weight and pretty rubberized body, right? To
See,
protect against drops, or you can have very lightweight so that literally it is too lightweight to hurt itself, right? Kind of like
yeah. It's like feather at that
it's
point.
like ant, right? Ant is like
Yeah,
too
right.
lightweight to literally hurt itself while falling.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
think about if there was no air dry, right? I mean, think about if ant did not have to breathe to live. There was no air
Oh,
dry.
yeah,
I am pretty sure when the
yeah,
ant falls to the ground, it will be dead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that concludes our
Okay.
last topic.
I mean, there's just one topic left, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it's like last time we talked about GPTJ. This time we
Oh,
have
okay.
another model from AI. Sorry, what's the name? Lab. AI21's lab. Some name. From them we have Jumbo J1 name. So in the name itself, they are including Jumbo, right? The whole point of Jumbo is they are having 178 billion parameters in that model,
Oh,
which are
oh
variable.
man.
So, in comparison, last time we talked about GPTJ, which was 6.5 billion parameters, and GPT-3, which was considered to be the topmost complex parameter till this point, it is having 175 billion parameters. So, let's see the numbers. So, let's go to the screen share
Absolutely.
and yeah.
Yeah, actually,
So,
this
so this
was
is
like
the
actually
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the thing. I think the tough book was added last time, right? So I think there was like, at chart there were like three topics
Yeah. There were only three
beautifully up
topics, but then tough book was inserted in between, so
in
that's why
between. Yeah.
it lost the count. So
So
this is the research paper of, yeah, Varun. You were saying
I
something.
mean, like the I was like talking about like the parameters, right? There is like
Yeah.
this is dimensions, right? I mean dimensionality, and
Uh,
the
yeah, yeah,
right. I mean the more the dimensions you
yes,
have, the more fine control you have with the data. But it
right,
also
right,
gives you like a trade-off, right? Yeah, kind of like
yeah,
dimensions also gives
yeah,
you a trade-off. But
yeah,
more dimensions you have, you might actually learn a lot about the data also, right? I mean, if the data doesn't have
yes,
any noise, uh,
that is
yeah,
right,
I
that is
think
right.
you can explain the results, right? Like which you are showing.
Yeah, yeah. So, see, first is like, GPT-3, there are two versions, 6.77 billion and 175 billion. These people are kind of countering both the models. There is J1 large and J1-Jumbo. But as you can see, the layers, right? Number of layers are exactly same for GPT-3 6.7 billion and J1 large. So basically, what they're trying to do is they are increasing the number of neurons per layer in that point. Second is in the second model, you can see 175 billion GPT-3 and Jumbo. GPT-3 is actually having more layers. Jumbo is having less layers. So I would say it's a dense model. Per layer, there are more neurons. So that is one point. Now I have tested both the models. I would say at this point, GPT-3 performs better, and J1 Jumbo is actually performing worse to the point where it's not even close to GPT Neo X, which I told last time, which is having 2.7 billion parameters. So 2.5 billion parameters. Sorry. So I mean, it could be that the point of these models are, uh, if we give some text to it, it returns some you know uh, generated text to us, which kind of makes sense. But in terms of Jumbo, it was making sense in the start, but going at the end, it was not making good sense. So I would say, um, most probably, I have not understood where this model shines. It should have shined because there is a whole research paper on it. But yeah, so at this point, it's not performing that good as per my testing. But yeah,
So I mean, like I think what you can do is maybe like use GPT-3 but with higher parameters, right? Maybe
I
test
see.
with that.
I see.
But the thing is, I don't think they have settled for the particular parameters because I think they thought like there is no more use to have more parameters.
Hmm.
And
Correct.
like in machine learning, sometimes you reduce the parameters because it is too much, right? Like too much for
Yeah, yeah.
the
At the
whole thing
point,
to handle.
correct.
So it's like
Uh,
like those things like I like what are the thing eigenvectors use extends
yeah,
the
I
eigenvectors principle
eigenvectors, PCA,
PCA.
uh,
So
PCFS, yes.
PCA, like you normally do PCA to literally reduce the dimensionality, right? And there's
Yeah,
also a kernel trick for FEMs and those kind of things.
yes, absolutely.
So everyone wants to also reduce the dimensionality, right? I mean, noisy dimensions. Like the whole idea of
Yeah.
reducing dimensionality is to remove the noisy dimension, right? Like
Also, second point to why we should reduce dimensions, because if you guys know what is curse of dimensionality, I would explain. The thing is that if you move from one dimension to two dimension, you just don't need 2x more data points. You need more than 2x data points to explain that dimension. So the thing is that with every dimension you move, your number of data points which you need grows exponentially. So which with each dimension you require lots of more data to train your model efficiently. So that is curse of dimensionality. That is also one of the point why we shouldn't go for unnecessary high dimensions, and
Dimensions,
we should
yes.
always reduce the dimensions whenever needed.
So yeah, like what happens is that whenever you have more dimensions, noise increases across dimensions, right? And whenever the noise increases, the time, like the amount of work you need to train it also increases, because the amount of
I see.
data set needs to be high, because the thing is, it's like signal to noise ratio, right? SNR. Like you
Yes.
have lesser signal compared to noise, right? Maybe let's say SNR is like 70%. So you need more data to for the model to make sense, because model doesn't know what is noise, what is signal, right? To know what is
Yes.
signal, it has to see so much data to know what is signal.
Right.
That is what is happening. And when you do principal component analysis, it kind of becomes a correlation and it becomes much more streamlined, right? That is, the noise gets reduced because there is no more bigger dimension. There is only one
Yeah.
dimension, right? Like we just, I mean,
Only those dimensions
and like
which are bringing the most variation in
yes,
in
yes.
the data
I
set.
was like starting with two, right? In my mind. So two dimension to one dimension, right? Or we can say, like n dimension, you have m dimension you get out, and n dimension, like m you can decide whatever you want. How many dimensions you want to delete, right? That's n minus x. X is the number of dimensions you want to delete. You get m, and this is basically PC, right? And I think
Yes.
the thing is, they have basically chosen the best number of dimensions compared to how much computation
Hmm.
they have to do
Hmm.
on the data, how much time they have to spend on tweaking the model, and how much data they have,
I see.
right?
I see.
And
Yeah.
GPT-3, I think it is a miracle, right? Kind of like,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
GPT-J was also a miracle. So
GPTG was pretty good. Yeah, I have tested it. It was amazing. With even like 6 billion parameters, it was making sense. So I mean, not so sure what is wrong with Jumbo, but yeah,
Jumbo,
that's
maybe
the
the
case.
model itself is having an order that much.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But I
mean,
mean,
we
the
we
point
both
is
have
that
done a,
these
yeah.
at least these people tried, right? I mean, 178 billion parameters is like you need lots of RAM, and the whole model, I guess, uh, the RAM has to be in terabytes or maybe petabytes. Not so sure, like you,
Not petabytes,
because
maybe terabyte.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
and
think
to
there's
train
any
this thing,
server that can even support a petabyte of RAM.
okay, yeah, right. The, most probably this model was trained on distributed environment, and the estimates are, this model took around 40 days to train on that much amount of GPUs available with them, all of them NVIDIA for sure, because CUDA and not such things. But yeah, the point is that if that model were to be trained on your normal 3080 or 3090, it would take thousands of days to train, just for the scale, the sake.
I don't think it's even possible to train it, because just to
Yeah,
load one row, right? There is one row with these many attributes might even like exhaust your RAM. Like it's just
yeah,
plainly nearly impossible to train it. Maybe like
actually.
maybe like train with all the computers you have. Maybe you'll get a chance,
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah,
but maybe it'll take years, right? To train it.
yeah, that is correct. But the effort which these guys have put to compete with GPT-3, GPT-3 has like Microsoft's back, right? So they can have the hardware and all these things. But these guys took took the challenge and made the thing possible. So
I mean,
kudos to
GPT-J
them.
made me surprised, right? Like GPT-J,
Yeah, yeah,
because they are not even having this kind of backing, like from
exactly.
Microsoft or
Yeah,
anything.
everyone, like, everyone except GPT-3 who are trying to create these huge models are amazing. Like, you guys are amazing, absolutely.
So
Okay,
yeah,
so I guess with that we can conclude, right?
yeah.
It's 1 hour and 30 minutes of video as of at this point. Yeah, it was an amazing conversation. Yeah. So should we call it a day?
Yeah, we can call it a day. So I guess
Okay.
I will be, yeah, I'll be ending, I guess. Right. So thanks for watching, and if you have any doubts, do post it in Tux forums, right? Or leave it in the comments below, right? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and we will see you every week, Sunday at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Most probably, right? If nothing goes sideways.
Yeah. If YouTube doesn't, if YouTube processes the quality within time, yeah, then absolutely we will be on time.
If I remember correctly, YouTube hasn't processed the 2K, right? At the time of the
Yeah. Oh man. Last
publishing of
time
the
it had.
last
Yes.
one.
At least 1080 was there, so that is good. But 2K was not there.
Yeah, 2K was not there. I hope it is even processed. I haven't checked it after that.
Yeah, it is processed.
It is processed, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should upload a week earlier, right? Then it will be
Yeah.
like old news, right? So
Correct.
maybe we should time travel. Yeah, maybe even the time machine.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, bro. I guess goodbye, everyone.